It's time for Fight News Now Extra. Welcome to the show. I'm John Pollock. We're getting set for the UFC's Fight Night card in Australia. We're going to chat about that with John Ramdine. Plus, a former champion is hurt and out of his next fight. The big UFC 189 card over International Fight Week continues to grow, and much more in today's headlines. Former lightweight champion Anthony Pettis has suffered an injury in training, and he is out of his fight with Myles Jury that was set for July the 25th in Chicago on Fox. The news was made on Fox Sports 1 on Thursday, with Edson Barbosa being inserted to fight Jury. Jury is coming off his first professional loss of his career from this past January against Donald Cerrone, and Barbosa is looking to bounce back from a decision loss to Michael Johnson. A welterweight bout between Jake Ellenberger and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is the latest fight to be added to the stacked UFC 189 card in Las Vegas on July the 11th during International Fight Week. ESPN was the first to announce the fight and spoke with Tyron Woodley, who was initially offered the fight against Ellenberger, but he didn't see it to his benefit to fight Ellenberger, who has lost 3 of his last 4 fights. And a lightweight bout has been signed for the UFC's debut card in Glasgow, Scotland, with Joseph Duffy set to take on Ivan George, according to a report from Combat in Brazil. Duffy made his UFC debut in March at UFC 185 with a quick stoppage victory over Jake Lindsay, while George is coming off a decision victory over Josh Shockley from this past February. Saturday night, we are live with a pre-fight show at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time from our Toronto studios with Robin Black, John Ramdine, and myself getting you set for the main card, which will be airing in Canada on Fight Network, with 4 fights coming your way from Adelaide, Australia, including your heavyweight main event between Mark Hunt and Stipe Miocic. And I'm here with John Ramdine. Unfortunate news for you Anthony Pettis fans, as he is off the July 25th card in Chicago. He was set to fight Myles Jury. Now he's hurt. Khabib Nurmagomedov is hurt. Is that the fight that we just have to make at this point? I mean, it was Anthony Pettis last week. He said, man, karma's a real bitch when Khabib got injured, and now, unfortunately, Pettis hurt as well. It makes too much sense to put these two together now.
It makes too much sense for Myles Jury. It was very strange, in my opinion, for Myles Jury to take this fight with Anthony Pettis, because we saw what happened to him when he took that step up in competition. So it's kind of a blessing, because I think Myles Jury is a guy that we should watch out for at 155 pounds. This is the kind of thing that you'd expect at this weight class, because, you know, there's so many guys kind of clamoring for top spot. Everybody's training really hard. Everybody's at top camps, and this is what's going to happen, especially because of the UFC's obligations to all their television partners. They just have to keep cranking out the product, which means anytime that there's a fighter available, he's right back into the mix instead of getting the time to kind of recoup. And that's what we're seeing right now from all the divisions. And when you're as deep as 155, these things are going to happen.
And with this new fight with Jury and Barbosa, I see a bit of a less dynamic version of Donald Cerrone, which is where Myles Jury, I think a lot of his problems he's addressing from that loss in January. So from a stylistic standpoint, I think this fight, it's a very winnable fight for Myles Jury. And Edson Barbosa, I thought looked pretty flat against Michael Johnson. So both of them, I think, are correcting issues from their last fights.
True, but at the same time, I like this fight. I think Barbosa, you know, Michael Johnson, he's very, very skilled. You look at how much he's improved.
Maybe the most unappreciated lightweight, who doesn't always get that kind of discussion in the upper echelon at 155.
I agree, and I think that's what you look at right now. There's so many talented guys at 155 pounds. You look at the guys at the top end, we all know their names, but even, you know, you get past the top 10 into the top 15 and top 20, they're all serious guys, and I think Barbosa and Myles Jury and Michael Johnson, this is a good point for these guys to see where they fit in the division, because it's a pretty hefty climb to the top of the ladder, so to speak.
We also got the announcement that Jake Ellenberger, he'll be taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at that UFC 189 card. And it also came out that Tyron Woodley had been offered this fight with Jake Ellenberger, and he stated, listen, I don't really see the benefit of fighting a guy who is below me. He's lost 3 of his last 4. I'm aiming for Johnny Hendricks. I'm aiming for a Carlos Condit. I want a title fight. Strategically, this fight doesn't get me any closer. I don't blame Tyron Woodley at all. And every idiot out there is going to just look at this guy and, you know, comment away. You have to manage your career, and it's not always just at the drop of a hat or at the whim of the UFC. You're taking every fight left and right. I think for Tyron Woodley, he sees a path to the title, and he's going to take fights that are going to get him that much closer.
Very true, and there's something that's probably not said, that's a difficult fight. You talk about Jake Ellenberger and where he is right now. Jake Ellenberger, when he is on, can compete with anybody ranked in the top 5 and top 10. He's athletic, he's explosive, he has the background. Sometimes we've just seen it seems to be a mental issue, but when Jake Ellenberger is on, he is a hellion. And so for Tyron Woodley, it's like, well, I don't know which Jake Ellenberger is going to show up. It would be terrible if I get the very good Jake Ellenberger and he kind of pulls the rug out of my shot to the 70-pound championship. So it makes sense why you wouldn't want to take this fight, because Ellenberger is a tough fight for anybody.
UFC 189, it probably will turn out to be the most purchased UFC pay-per-view of the year. If it's not number 1, it's probably going to be number 2. Which takes us back to this past weekend with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao, and Kevin Iole has
boxing's dead, right?
As a report, yeah, apparently the graveyard. There are over 5 million spectators at the funeral.
God.
That is where this figure is going towards. It's trending towards north of 5 million buys with a ceiling. This thing could hit 5.6 million buys. Such an astonishing figure. I never thought I would see the day that a pay-per-view could do that much.
Yeah, true. But at the same time, when I'm making my commute into work, I'm flipping through radio stations. Everybody, even a week after this fight, is still talking about it. Radio stations that I've never heard talk about boxing before, people that I've spoken to that have showed no interest in combat sports in the past, they're talking about this fight and all the kind of controversy surrounding it. Oh, you know, man, we didn't get the best Manny Pacquiao because of the shoulder situation. People, do they not understand that they're setting up the rematch by talking about this?
Is there any other fight to make? Like, from a business perspective, there's no other fight you can even dangle other than the rematch.
That's it. I mean, sure, because of all the... Floyd is such a talented boxer, and he has so many detractors. People want to see this guy lose, and people want to look at how good he is inside of the ring. So I think people are still going to watch Mayweather, but if you're looking for the biggest bang for your buck, the rematch.
Quick, Mark Hunt, Stipe Miocic, Saturday night.
Oh, God, I got to pick Stipe. I just think he's got more tools, and even though Mark Hunt's wiser and he's battle-tested, I think that Miocic is going to have the right formula.
All right, tune in Saturday night. We're going to have a live pre-fight show at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, getting you set for the main card, which will be airing here on Fight Network from Adelaide, Australia, with Stipe Miocic, Mark Hunt in your heavyweight main event. More Fight News Now Extra is up next.